All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, as you all know, or should know at this point, um, Blizzard managed to severely piss me off with classic TBC, so I ended up pulling all my guides and videos for TBC in general. I'm also going to make you guys, while I'm making this video, I'm going to make you put up with the fact that I have my sliding glass door open, like a motherfucker, here in Guangzhou, China. Basically, I live in the jungles in China, and summertime, it's like, I don't know, it's like 87, 90 degrees. It's like 31 degrees Celsius or some shit. So, yeah, slowly dying to death. But I'm trying to get used to the heat. That's what I do every summer, is rather than just using the aircon like crazy, I just, sweat it out. So what I wanted to do is I'm going to make one video for TBC, and a lot of you people are probably going to be pretty happy because it's actually pretty damn fun for you. Um, Blizzard still pissed me off thoroughly with all of their monetization and changes shit. I know some of you guys aren't bothered too terribly much by this, and you're looking forward to TBC, so have fun with that. I personally hope you all fucking. I hope TBC falls flat on its fucking face. I hope it dies. I hope it burns in hell. But I love you guys. So, anyways, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to give you one Paladin video for TBC on my findings, and you guys can go from there. And I'm never making a TBC video again. Or what I might do is I'll let TBC go by for like 3 months or so, and I'll wait till Fresh Classic comes out. And then when Fresh Classic comes out, then I'll make all my videos available again. And I'll keep in contact with people like Talrain and the Paladin Discord and so forth and so on, just to see if any of my theories are correct. But anyways, let's start off with the absolute basics here. So, basics of my findings from all my Paladin PvP videos. There's some crap on my computer screen. Give me a sec here. What the hell is this shit? Must have killed something. Like a mosquito or some shit. Let's see. Right. So finding number one was that spell power paladins are superior to deep ret paladins in TBC. The main reason for this is because if you look at Crusader striking and auto-attacking with a two-handed weapon, plus trying to do spell power, I actually have the math around here somewhere. Let's open up a new paint. I had all the math in the world in all my videos. Mechatech spell casting. Hot seals. What, seals? HOS seals. I don't know. Tango, Tech Paladin, Seal of Blood, PNG, Seal of Blood, PNG 2. Where's the one where I'm doing the math? Seal of Blood, yeah, blah, 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 1/3, yada, yada. Perfect for Seal Twisting. Seal Twist over Auto Attack and Judge. Anyways, the moral of the story is when you break down GCD, okay, for a Paladin using a two-hander, what ends up happening is that you need to use GCDs for defensive purposes, which limits the amount of GCDs that you can use for offensive purposes. And generally speaking, you have to use a GCD for a defensive purpose every other GCD. It's really bad to try to use two GCDs in a row for offensive purposes. You can get away with it under certain combat circumstances, like, the target is silenced, or you've got them stunned, or so forth and so on, right? But as a general rule, you can't run around using every goddamn GCD offensively. Otherwise, and even then, Crusader striking paladins have issues because the GCDs will overlap. They're like, I can't GCD here because it's like, do I seal twist or do I Crusader strike? Well, what do I do? Kind of a scenario. And Argent Defender Paladins or two-handed Paladins that don't have Crusader Strike don't have this problem. Because what they can do is they're using a defensive GCD and then an offensive GCD, and then a defensive GCD and then an offensive GCD. And every now and then they have to throw in, like, a twist or a judgment and a reseal, but they can get away with that. So they don't really have GCD issues as far as their offense is concerned, whereas the Crusader Striking Paladins do. Let's try to find the actual PNG. Is it TBC stats and figures, theory, crafting on twisting? This might be it. Yeah, no, I don't want to save shit. Here we go. Right, so I made the assumption after a bunch of videos and blah, 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 that every 6 seconds, a Paladin can afford 2 of his GCD usages offensively. Thus, it may twist seals on 2 auto attacks, or twist 1 auto attack and 2 auto attacks, and then a Crusader Strike. And I started trying to do the math on this. Like, this was back before I was using spell power, so this is all physical damage based. And I eventually came to the conclusion that there wasn't a significant DPS difference between trying to Crusader Strike and then Seal Twist while using defensive GCDs versus Seal Twisting without Crusader Strike whatsoever. And this is one of the reasons that makes the two-handed Argent Defender Paladin playstyle quite for spell power quite formidable, is because he doesn't have Crusader Strike, but Seal Twisting all of his auto attacks alone basically makes him have Crusader Strike. On top of the fact that he's got really good mana issues, he's extremely tanky and defensive, and he can fucking heal himself 6 ways from Sunday. So that brings us back to the whole healing thing. Alright, so that's observation number 1, is Crusader Strike is extremely overrated because it's really good for bursts. Don't get me wrong. You can burst the fuck out of somebody because you can Seal Twist and Crusader Strike and then Seal Twist again. You can use all your GCDs offensively in a burst. But if we're just talking about, like, you know, raw, sustained, beat stick DPS, it's not so great. So this is an Argent Defender Paladin. Alright, so the other thing that's important to know is pure spell power gear on a Paladin is dog shit. What you really want to use is you want to use plus healing gear. Oh god, I just had a thought in my head where Blizzard's betting on me being a bitch, and here I am making videos for... okay, just suck it up. Suck it up. If you don't hate these guys, you're making the video for the people you don't hate. Fuck Blizzard, but you don't hate these boys. Alright, well, let's keep going. Alright, so plus healing gear. Basically in TBC, your plus healing gear is like your new hybrid gear. That's what you want to think of it as. In Classic World of Warcraft, right? Like hybrid gear is like tier 2, where it's got, like, you know, strength, stamina, intellect, and then spell power. It's got everything that a paladin needs to be for hybrid combat, with the sole exception of Critical Strike in Classic World of Warcraft. In TBC, we're foregoing strength because you can't really make use of it, but the healing gear is the hybrid gear. And the important thing to note, and this might be private server bullshit, but the important thing to note is your Holy Lights are absolutely terrible. Alright, Holy Light healing is awful. Even with 1700 plus healing on this gear and using Blessing of Light, my Holy Light healing is even downranking, is barely above 5 mana per heal. And why that's so important is, let's pull up another one over here. La 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 la. Megateka, no, blah 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 blah. Seal of Blood. I want TBC stats and figures. TBC stats and figures. Yeah, here we go. So why that's so important is if we actually do the math on the mana efficiency, like the damage, mana for damage ratio of most classes, it's like 6 or 7 to 1. Okay? So even if you have enough HPS, where the hell is this? So even if you have enough heals per second on your Paladin to keep yourself alive easily with HOL, what's going to happen is you're just going to fucking and die. Because your enemy has a similar mana bar to you. You guys basically have identical amounts of mana. And then they have a better mana to damage ratio than you have a healed to, or mana to heal ratio. So you're just going to fucking die. Which is why we... so to combat this, we're basically using FOLs. Our primary source of healing as both Holy Shock Paladins and as Argent Defender Spell Power Paladins, which are objectively superior to Deep Ret Paladins, by the way. You can make a Ret Paladin completely viable, don't get me wrong. You can be like, you know, an Enhancement Shaman, you know, Pocket Healer, all that kind of stuff. But otherwise, other than that, you know, 2 Argent Defender Paladins in Arena are just going to wreck face anyways, so it's like, whatever. Hot as fuck here, I'm sweating. Right, so HOL has the mana efficiency for us to win mana wars with our enemies, and thank God for that. However, it does not come innately with enough HPS, heals per second, to be a primary source of healing. So, the number one reason we're taking a bunch of plus healing gear is it allows our FOLs to suddenly be viable as our primary source of healing. We have to weave in some HOLs every now and then, but the lion's share of your healing will be FOLs. And so that's number one. I cannot stress to you how important that is to get enough HPS that your FOLs are viable. So, for example, a mage without their water elemental up can do 1,000 DPS on average. And at 1700 plus healing, if you actually calculate my heals per second, it is about 1,000 heals per second. So if they have a water elemental up and I just FOLing, they can't kill me, right? And that's kind of an important distinction. The same thing happens with enhancement shamans. Like, the enhancement shamans will be blasting you with a bunch of spells. And if you look over at the whole spell thing, you can see that their lightning bolt is stupidly mana efficient. And for the Frost Mage, it's their Frost Bolt is stupidly mana efficient. And for a Shadow Priest, it's their Mind Flay that is stupidly mana efficient. So most spellcasters have a spell that is stupidly mana efficient, which if they're using that spell predominantly to try to damage you, then you have to be healing primarily with flashes of light. If they're dipping into the spells that are less mana efficient but greatly enhance their DPS tempo coming out of them, so for example, if an elemental shaman is using anything but lightning bolt, then you have to start using more HOLs into that equation. It's a little bit of a dance, but you'll get used to it. What else is important? Right, so that's the number one reason why we're using plus healing gear. The other nice thing about it is that our healing becomes so mana efficient that suddenly we don't need anywhere near as much MP5 gear, and so we can start putting on other things like HP gear. So, for example, when I modified my Argent Defender Paladin, I actually stripped out 50 MP5, and I pumped up my base HP by about 2,000 or 3,000 or some shit like that with gems. So anyways, moral of the story is take plus healing gear, gem MP5 until you get comfortable, all MP5 in any socket pretty much whatsoever. Take enchants for MP5, right? Just go crazy on the MP5, and then when you start feeling comfortable with your mana efficiency and your mana capabilities, then you can pull back on the MP5 and start upping your HP. You can sacrifice MP5, this is important, for HP gains. As far as your gearing is concerned, you cannot sacrifice plus healing for HP gains. This is a big deal, and I learned this the hard way. The reason why you can't sacrifice healing for HP gains is because it's there's a weird synergy between your maximum HP pool and your plus healing ability. So, for example, I tried going up to 14k HP, and then I knocked my plus healing down to 1600, and my combat stats actually got worse. And the reason for that was because I didn't have enough overhealing from my FOLs anymore to keep my HP really topped off, if this makes any sense to you. It wasn't really a mana issue, because I could afford it, but it was an overhealing issue. So, basically, the flow of combat was I could only keep myself at about 12k HP before I would have to stop healing myself and run over there and stop the enemy from eating and drinking, right? So there was no point to having 14k HP. I couldn't support 14k HP. Whereas when I was 13k HP with 1700 plus healing, I had enough over-healing capability that I could keep that 13,000 HP up and operational. So it's a bit of a tempo issue. So it's a big HP pool is really good, but having plus healing tends to be better on the Holy Paladin. The Argent Defender Paladin. On the Holy Shock Paladin, it's a completely different issue. I suppose we can talk. That's an entirely different subject. We'll come back to that subject later, but it has to do with HP to DPS tempo. Argent Defender Paladins have very good HP to DPS tempo. Holy Shock Paladins don't. We'll definitely cover that later. Let me finish my point right here. All right, so the other awesome thing about the plus healing gear is that it actually comes with a really good bit of spell power. So in my builds, I think I was, at the end, I was running around with like 1700 to 1800 plus healing. Maybe it was like 1800 plus healing, and then I had like 800 spell power, and I had like 100 MP5, and then I had like 13,000 hit points. Actually, let's modify. I guess I can't change these numbers right now. And that was kind of an interesting sweet spot that I found. Now, if I went pure spell power gear, I might get like 1,000 spell power. So this would be like 1,000 spell power, and then this would be like 1,000 plus healing, give or take. The problem with that is, it's like, yeah, I do more damage, but now my healing tempo and my HP tempo are complete dog shit. Right, like I can't support all this massive HP bar that I have anymore from a tempo perspective. My healing MP5, my bad, my healing efficiency is terrible. So suddenly I need more MP5 gear to sustain it. My healing tempo is terrible. We already talked about this, right? Like I was running around. I tried the 1,000 spell power thing, and I had like 1,000 spell power, and then I had like 200 MP5 or some shit like that to try to keep it going. I just had all kinds of issues. I had like 11k HP or some shit like that, but I could only keep like 8k of it going. Because the issue is, it's like the enemy will CC you, and then they'll run away and they'll start eating and drinking, right? And then you need to, or they won't even CC you. They'll just stop DPSing you, and they'll run away, and they'll start eating and drinking. You can get off. You have maybe 2 holy lights that you can heal yourself before you have to run after them and stop them from eating and drinking, kind of a scenario. So your HP bar is going to be whatever the fuck 2 holy lights worth of healing is able to get you at. Or in some cases, you might just do holy light and FOL and then start running after them. So that's what I mean by like HP tempo issue. But then in Arena, HP tempo issue generates an entirely different thing. So at the end of the day, and you can try it, the plus healing gear for so many fucking reasons, just ended up being far better on the Paladins for offensive purposes than the stupid than pure spell power gear. Yeah, so basically, your healing tempos are better, your HP tempos are better, your mana efficiency is better, and so your gearing is easier on the MP5, and because your gearing is easier on the MP5, it allows you to kick up your HP more. You can afford to kick up your HP more because you can sacrifice MP5 for more HP. You can afford to kick up your HP more because you have the overhealing and the healing tempo to support a bigger mana HP bar. So everything just starts synergizing when you're wearing the plus healing gear, and the cost might be like 200 spell power, or like 20% of your spell power. But what you're gaining everywhere else is just so fucking awesome. So it's like, yeah, I lose 20% of my spell power based DPS, but I gain like 20% more hit points, and I gain like 50% more mana efficiency, and it's just like, damn, okay, and then it's like, when you look at like the tempo, you gain like all kinds of. So let's talk about what I mean by healing tempo. So one thing that shocked me for Holy Shock Paladins versus Argent Defender Paladins, and I guess I can pull up Discord for this. Discord. Yeah, so I was talking to some people, were asking questions, which prompted me to make at least one TBC video for you guys. God help you guys. You can read what we're talking about here. You can read what I'm talking about there. But I'm basically going to explain it real fast here. So really quickly, how do I put this? Yeah, I talk about it like right here. So the problem, and you have this problem in 1v1s, but it becomes extremely pervasive in 2v2s. And that problem is that you can't let your HP drop below a certain threshold of effective HP. It's effective HP, but in reality, you're going to look at it in combat terms of like the percentage of your HP. You can't let your HP drop below a certain percentage without being at risk of being like, hard CC'd and stunned and silenced and then bursted on, right? So as an Argent Defender Paladin in 2s, I found that I couldn't really let I might have like 11k HP, and I couldn't let it fall below like 8k HP, so like a 70 or 80% life. I couldn't let my HP fall but below that mark without, having to start using PvP Trinket and Bubble and all that kind of stuff, things I may not want to use. And this really affected my melee DPS. So the best DPS I could do as a Holy Shock Paladin under the vast majority of circumstances was to be constantly holy lighting myself, not auto-attacking for shit, and then every time Judgment was off cooldown, I would just judge damage into the target, and I might Holy Shock damage into the target, and then go right back into fucking Flash of Lighting myself. Otherwise, I would use Holy Shock to heal myself, and I would start do a few melee swings into them before I have to do Holy Lights again. And that was in 1v1s. In Arena, you're literally stuck primarily just Flash of Lighting yourself until the end of time. This is assuming you're a Holy Shock Paladin in Arena with another Holy Shock Paladin, just like we're going to assume if you're an Argent Defender Paladin, you're in the Arena with another Argent Defender Paladin. Argent Defender Paladins synergize well together in Arena. Holy Shock Paladins synergize well together in Arena. Mixing the two does not synergize very well. Okay, what else is there? Right, so I refer to this as like this is another healing tempo issue. So healing tempo issue number 1 is I need to stop that motherfucker over there from eating and drinking. I only have so much time I can afford to heal myself before I have to run over there and bitch slap his ass, right? That's healing tempo issue number 1. Healing tempo issue number 2 is I can only do so many melee swings into I only have so much time to do X, Y, and Z outside of just healing myself with FOL constantly. I'm basically heal locked, if that makes any sense. Meanwhile, the Argent Defender Paladin over here has way fucking more effective HP, right? So, as an Argent Defender Paladin, you can let your HP drop to like 50%, but in reality, it's like, I had between like 3 to 7k HP to play with, and that's if I'm using my Holy Shocks defensively. You kind of want to use your Holy Shocks defensively more than offensively as a Holy Shock Paladin, because you get like a 30% healing bonus from your 2-set bonus in your healing gladiator gear. So if you're going to be using Holy Shock offensively, you need some other benefit from it, in my opinion. Or you can just afford to do so. But you need some other benefit from it, like you're interrupting them dropping combat or eating and drinking, for example. So yeah, so basically, as the Holy Shock Paladins, I was heal locked in Arena, even with another Holy Shock Paladin partner, and it was really annoying. Whereas 2 Argent Defender Paladins, they walk in there and they're just like, they have so much more HP pool to play with before they need to start healing. And their healings, you might think to yourself, it's like, yeah, but if we're using Holy Shocks to heal ourselves, we're technically going to be doing more healing over time, so it should kind of even out. But then the Argent Defender Paladin has so much damage reduction capability that's actually not true. So the play style of Argent Defender Paladin in 2s is you heal yourself to full and you spend some time beating the shit out of them, and then you heal yourself to full and then you spend some time beating the shit out of them. Whereas the Holy Shock Paladin is like, I have to FOL constantly for like the first 2 minutes of combat, and I can only get some judgments in, and maybe a couple melee swings here and there. Like that is your life if you're being focused. If you're the guy who isn't being focused, life might be a little bit easier for you, or you're the guy who's holy Flash of Lighting constantly, and the other guy's melee attacking, right? Like somebody's heal locked in that scenario, and the other guy is like partially heal locked in that scenario. Whereas the 2 paladins are doing traditional, like classic WoW paladin stuff, where they'll stop and they'll heal themselves up to full, and then they'll spend like, another 20 seconds or so doing like, two-handed auto or one-handed or two-handed auto attack, seal twisting, going offensive, and then they have to heal themselves back to full. You're super comfy as Argent Defender Paladins. The weird scenario, however, between the two is that the Argent Defender Paladins can very easily survive until the enemy is in an state. So if you're as a Paladin and they're as a Paladin, they become a lot. The enemy often becomes a lot weaker, and you as the Paladin become Super Saiyan. Okay, so you're not trying to kill them when they're full mana, when you're full mana. Don't try to do that. What you're trying to do is you're trying to survive in your plus healing gear until their mana starts getting low and they start having to try to break contact and eat and drink. When that happens, you as a Paladin have all the advantages. Like your combat capability and everything just becomes life becomes so much easier, and you can actually kill motherfuckers. Okay? The Argent Defender Paladin has the easiest time, like a stupidly fucking easy time of getting enemies to the point where they're running low on cooldowns, they're running low on mana, they're running low on abilities, and you're just the fucking juggernaut. Okay? They have a very easy time of getting into that state, but they have a little bit of a problem killing people. Like it's not the worst thing in the world. You just have to... your skill set is going to be... as far as difficulty is concerned, it's like a 3 out of 10 to survive into the low mana state, and then it's like maybe a 7 out of 10 difficulty to start figuring out how to kill motherfuckers while in low mana combat scenarios. If you can figure out how to kill people pretty consistently, especially in 2s or 3s or 5s or whatever the fuck, in this low mana type environment, this low mana combat environment, then you're a god. Okay, like that is your number one hurdle to get over as an Argent Defender Paladin is, okay, we're both It was very easy to get us both or low on resources. Now, how do I just kill this motherfucker? It becomes your main question. It's not too terribly bad because you still have like metric shit tons of DPS, and as we saw over here with the Argent Defender math, and this will be different on actual Classic. Your two-handed auto attacks and shit actually hit pretty fucking hard, even with low spell power and seal twisting. So it's not that big of a deal. Blah 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 blah. The Holy Shock Paladin, by comparison, has a completely different problem. He has the opposite problem of the Argent Defender Paladin. His problem is just survival until they get to that low mana, low resource state of affairs. However, once the Holy Shock Paladin enters low mana combat mode with the enemy, they are undisputably easier to annihilate motherfuckers than the Argent Defender Paladin. Make sure we're still recording over here. They will just clean fucking house. No fucking problems. And the main reason for this is because you have Holy Shock, right? It's much easier for you to just keep bitch slapping enemies at range with metric shit tons of damage and interrupting their ability to eat and drink and to just grind them into pulp. The Holy Shock Paladins also have more DPS. So the Argent Defender Paladins, I think they top out at around 600 DPS. They have between 500 to 600 DPS sustainable. Whereas the Holy Shock Paladins have between 7 to 800 DPS. And this is without using fucking, wings or anything like that. And most of their DPS, on top of that, the Holy Shock Paladin is he's much less susceptible to being CC'd and kited. Like if you're Cyclone and the enemy runs away from you for a little bit, and the enemy sheeps you and they run away from you a little bit, you have Holy Shock and Judgment are probably still on cooldown, and then you just chase after them a bit and then bitch slap them. The main components of your damage as a Holy Shock Paladin are ranged abilities on long cooldowns. So suffering short CC durations and the enemy getting distance on you is not a problem for them. So they can maintain. They're really good at maintaining DPS. Whereas the Argent Defender Paladins, they're a melee entire paladin, so you're going to be spending a lot of time just running after motherfuckers. But again, that's the major issue of the Argent Defender Paladin is they have lower DPS and they're melee only, so they'll have a little bit of struggle killing motherfuckers in a low mana mode. However, they're unkillable. They're damn near unkillable before your enemy enters low mana mode, and then they become like definitively unkillable when both players are in low resource mode. Alright, so the Holy Shock Paladin's problem is that he needs to find a way to consistently get into low mana, low resource combat mode where he can definitively win the fight no problem. Like, that is his major issue. And if you can solve that problem as a Holy Shock Paladin, then you're going to be a Paladin, Pally God, no problem. With the Argent Defender Paladin, you can make it low mana mode, easy peasy, but your problem is going to be finishing off enemies once in low mana mode. But if you can solve that problem, once again, you have another Paladin God. Other important notes, both of them wear the exact same gear. So both of them are using plus healing gear. Both of them are using sword and board. There's only like slight differences but between the two. So for example, the Holy Shock Paladin might be in like full ornamental, like plus healing gear set, whereas the Argent Paladin is mixing Lamellar for the stun duration reduction, and then ornamental as well for like plus healing and so forth and so on, right? So there's an extreme gear overlap. Other than that, they're wearing the exact same fucking gear. So my suggestion would be for any Holy Paladin Holy Power Paladin enthusiast would be that you play them both almost interchangeably, right? And you're like, oh, I'm going to go try to make Holy Shock work for a while. Man, okay, I'm still trying to figure it out, you know, blah, 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 blah. Get familiar with the difficulties of playing Holy Shock Paladin, and then go back over to Argent Defender Paladin, get familiar with playing the Argent Defender Paladin. You'll naturally get more comfortable with one, but I think it's in your best interest to try to figure out how to make both of them Paladin gods, because as the roller coaster of gearing in PvP changes over the course of TBC's life cycle, it's probably going to be, there's going to be time periods where Argent Defender Paladin is better than Holy Shock Paladin, and then there'll be time periods when Holy Shock Paladin is better than Argent Defender Paladin. That's assuming that you can figure out ways to solve both of the Paladin's problems, right? So if there is like no way to actually solve Holy Shock Paladin problem, then Argent Defender Paladin will be king. And that's just kind of the way it is. You're going to have to suck that one up. All right, so I'm trying to think, is there anything else to really talk about here? We talked about healing tempo, HP tempo issues, healing efficiency, mana efficiency, DPS efficiency, certain synergies, and so forth and so on. I think one of the more terrifying... Oh, right, we're going to go do... let me pause the video. We're going to go do... talent trees. There we go. Alright, should still be recording. 32 minutes, huh? Alright, let's see here. We'll start with the Holy Shock Paladins. I think they put 5 points in here. You definitely take 3 out of 3 in here. I think you get this. We do pick up Illumination. I'm not entirely sure if we're doing Pure of Heart or if we're doing Sanctified Light. Both are pretty good. We're going to do Pure of Heart here. Pure of Heart works against rogues and diseases. I might suggest taking it, but you can... Some points in here are very flexible. It really doesn't matter. You might want that against warlocks, and you pick up Holy Shock. The most important thing to note here for... take 3 out of 3. For the Holy Shock Paladin is you're going to completely want to ignore... do I take Eye for an Eye? I think I do take Eye for an Eye. Definitely want Sanctity Aura. You're going to completely ignore Seal of Command for shits and giggles? Or do I go the two-handed route? I'm not sure where this extra point goes, but I know I put 1 point in here and we're good to go. Maybe Seal of Command for the hell of it? Yeah, sure. Maybe you use it over... I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Okay, so the moral of the story is you completely ignore Vengeance. Forget about Vengeance. Any Holy Shock Paladin that is taking Vengeance is a borderline meme. I'm not saying it isn't good, but they are literally borderline memeing on us. Sanctified Judgment is your boy. And the reason why Sanctified Judgment is your boy along with Benediction is the two of these make it so that you literally can't So for example, especially if you're using like some MP5 gear, you can maintain, Judgment of Wisdom and stuff on the target using SOR, blah, 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 blah. You can maintain, it's like 5 or 8 minutes of combat sustain if you're using Holy Shock to heal yourself. If you're using Holy Shock offensively, I think you've got, 4 minutes of combat sustain, and the reason for that is because the critical strikes from the Holy Shock don't get illuminated. So it's a waste of mana. You can do the math on this, but basically these 3 points in Sanctified Judgment is like 60 or 50. It's like 50, 60, or 70 MP5 or some shit like that. Benediction is also worth a bunch of MP5 here. It's just, for the talent points, it's worth so much MP5 that it makes your gearing so much easier. I mean, and you lose maybe 10% DPS at most. In reality, it's maybe like an 8% DPS loss. Just put 3 points in Sanctified Judgments, guys. It's absolutely ridiculous. Anyways, these are the talents here that are going to let you play Mana War, right? You survive to the Mana War. You're going to have plenty of mana on them. You're going to be stupidly mana efficient, and you can just kill them easily. Yeah, so anyways, put 3 points in here. Just trust me on that. Your extra points, which, yeah, you have 2 of them. Some people like Blessed Life. I don't mind it at all, but you can, Light's Grace, also a possibility. You can do whatever you want with these extra 2 talent points. There's other possible builds that I think, I'm not sure you'd want to take into Arena, but for, like, dueling, let's just clear this real fast here. Basically, you come down here, you put in points, and then you pick up, you put like 4 points in Holy Guidance, if memory serves. And then you go into like the Prot tree. I haven't tested this one out too much. Go away. Haven't tested this one out too much. Put 3 points in there, 1 point in here, just to get in here. We'll put 3 points in here, 2 points in there. Maybe I strip one out and go 3 out of 3 here. But yeah, I think we get like 4 points in here. And then we make our way down to 1 point in toughness. What am I talking about? Stoicism. 3 out. Oh, yeah. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, something like this. This might be a really good build for dueling. I'm not sure how much I like Holy Guidance versus... Oh, shit, right. Okay. Boop, 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 boop. Boop. Boom. This is the build. Okay, there we go. So, the fascinating thing about this Holy Shock Paladin build is this is an amazing 1v1 Paladin build. Like, this is a really fucking good 1v1 Paladin build. Again, I haven't tested it too terribly much, so maybe I'm, like, up shit creek without a paddle, like, you know, I'm smoking something over here. But the thing is, we came down here and we're primarily interested in improved concentration aura, which really helps us against, like, you know, mages and a bunch of other classes that try to burst us out of existence. It's extremely difficult to beat mages without improved concentration aura or like a breaker amulet neck piece. But we come down here and we pick up Blessing of Sanctuary. So this paladin is very good if you're a Holy Shock enthusiast, you're not doing arenas, and you just want to, like, plunk around, you just want to bum around out in the world, maybe do some BGs, and you want to AoE farm for gold. Well, you have Blessing of Sanctuary, so your AoE gold farm has just become stupidly more efficient. You also have Holy Guidance, which means that your AoE farm is going to become stupidly more efficient. Just a good, well-rounded Holy Shock Paladin build in general. The king of the Paladin builds, however, in my personal opinion, the one that I would play if I was actually playing TBC, is the Argent Defender Paladin. And we put precisely 3 points in Spiritual Focus. If memory serves, it is 8, 39, 14. And we're about to find out. Because people on the private realms would always ask me, like, you know, what kind of Paladin are you? Like, oh, are you a Holy Paladin? I'm like, no, I'm like 8, 39, 13. Yeah, so we'll see here. 5 points in there, 2 points in there, 2 points in there, 5 in here, and a single point in Holy Shield. And then, as you can see, we have 14 points left over. I put 3 points in there, I think. Maybe I put points in over there, I don't know. 3 out of 3 Vindication? Fuck no, we're low on points. And then, boom, she's done. Okay, so this is the build that I've personally fallen in love with. There's not a lot of wiggle room with the talents. Fucking. There we go. That was annoying. Huh. Not a lot of wiggle room with the talents because we're primarily sitting in concentration aura, so we got like a 15% pushback immunity from improved concentration aura, and then we have basically a 98% pushback immunity from our physical spiritual focus. Theoretically, we could strip like a point out of Argent Defender and get it up to 100% if we wanted to, but nah, I don't know. I just, you know, might as well, whatever. Against rogues, having an extra point and improved holy shield is both a really good thing and also like not necessary at the same time. So I'm borderline on whether or not we should be putting an extra point into improved holy shield over 5 out of 5 argent defender, but you'd only be doing that specifically for the against rogues. I've been talking too much. Starting to cough and spit and need to drink water. What else is there about this build? Yeah, stupidly fucking tanky, has improved concentration aura, has improved Hammer of Justice, really good for AoE farming with Blessing of Sanctuary and Argent Defender, stupidly good for AoE farming with Blessing of Sanctuary and Argent Defender. We have Pursuit of Justice. Pursuit of Justice you can't live without as an Argent Defender Paladin. You don't have issues surviving into low mana, but you have issues keeping enemies from eating and drinking without Pursuit of Justice. Pursuit of Justice has solved so many problems. I tried PvPing without Pursuit of Justice for a while, and it was just complete and utter dog shit. Don't do it. Definitely take Pursuit of Justice. And we have our necessary 1 point in Seal of Command. You can theoretically, I think, I don't know if you can seal twist on actual TBC Seal of Righteousness into Seal of Vengeance or not. If you could, or you can, theoretically, seal twisting SOR into SOV is superior to seal twisting Seal of Command. SOR into Seal of Command, or SOV into Seal of Command. It's superior, but it's also more mana intensive. So the whole point of this 1 point in Seal of Command is that if we're low mana, we can still seal twist with, rank whatever plus rank 1 Seal of Command, right? It becomes much more mana efficient, and that's kind of a big deal. Otherwise, if you're finding that you don't really need Seal of Command twisting, you could strip out this point and put it either in the Holy Shield or the Spiritual Focus area. I don't know, blah, 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 survive contact with the enemy. The other thing to note is that, and this is more of a private server thing, and not like an actual TB, I don't know if this will work in TBC Classic or not, but on the private servers, slow one-handed weapons, even if they did not have spell power on them, were proving themselves to be terrifyingly efficient compared to... it's like some of the best one-handed DPS that we had. And you can see I have the stats here for the private server. So when I was going one-hander as an Argent Defender Paladin with these stats over here, mind you, I modified these stats later, you could see I only had 570 spell power. But my 5 out of 5 SOR Judgment, like Seal of Vengeance at 5 out of 5 stacks with no spell power still hits like a fucking truck. And then on top of that, like the base amount of damage out of it at 5 out of 5 stacks was still hitting like a truck even without spell power. And then with spell power, it had better scaling than SOR and everything else. So the moral of the story was, if you can 5 out of 5 stack Seal of Vengeance on your target, it was objectively superior to Seal of Righteousness. And then, you could be seal twisting with Seal of Command, and Command counts as an extra proc, and it might, proc Seal of Vengeance, two-handed style, blah, blah, blah. Just experiment with all the seal twisting possibilities. But keep in mind that there are different hander possibilities. So you got slow one-handers that don't have any spell power on them whatsoever. Don't worry about the spell power. It ends up being just fine anyways, which is fascinating. You have the one-handers, where you probably definitely want to pick up spell power one-handers. You can try non-spell power one-handers, but you can't, it becomes a pain in the ass. And then you have your two-handers, and even without spell power, you get to seal twist them. So you can't seal twist, you can seal twist the two-handers, but you can't really seal twist the one-handers very much, but you don't really need to, the slow one-handers. And then you can definitely not seal twist the fast one-handers. So just go explore that, have fun. It ends up being a trip, but I think what you're going to find, at least I found it on the private servers, I don't know about actual TBC, but in low mana mode, my best DPS source was either two-handed seal twisting, and that's if things were very stop and go with the opponent. Like, I get on top of them, I get like 2 auto attacks to them, then I get sheeped, or I get cycloned and then I get back on top of them again. I get 2 auto attacks, sheep, cycloned, whatever, right? If it's very stop-start style combat, then the two-hander was significantly better, because you could run up and bitch slap them one time, seal twist, and then bitch slap them, seal twist, within 3.5 seconds. However, if I was able to maintain time on target for an extended period of time against an enemy, most notably, let me think, Shadow Priest is a primary example. Shaman is a primary example. Classes that have these long periods of time before they can CC you and get you the fuck off of them, or so the SOR doesn't really fall off very well. You can keep 5 out of 5 stacks up. The one-handed SOV was extraordinarily effective. But you can mix and match it, right? Like, you can go two-hander and then seal twist SOV. I mean, it's not like you can't do that. But anyways, blah, 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 blah. So I think that ends it for the video. Primary things to note would be spell power gear plus healing gear was proving itself to be far better than anything else. Try to remember that there is a synergy between how much plus healing you have and then how much HP that you can, the maximum amount of HP that you can sustain tempo-wise. Okay? Like, you're literally only going to be able to get off 2 holy lights, and then you have to go run after a motherfucker. Like, that's going to be your life as a paladin. As a holy shock paladin, you might be able to get off 3 holy lights and then have to run after a motherfucker because you got the 20-yard range on your holy shock. But I'm pretty sure for both Argent Defender Paladin and for holy shock paladin, it's going to be 2 holy lights, and then I have to run out after a motherfucker. Sometimes as Argent Defender Paladin, it's holy light and then FOL, and then I have to run after a motherfucker to stop them from eating and drinking. And however much plus healing you have will dictate what your maximum HP pool is looking like under such combat circumstances. Other combat circumstances would be your enemy decides, fuck this, I'm going to run away for a bit. While he's healing, I'm going to go run away and try to get some drinking in. That is a very common occurrence for classes that don't have any CC. So like, Shaman and Shadow Priest and so forth and so on. And again, the scenario is like, I can do a holy light and then I got to run after this guy. I can do 2 holy lights and then I have to run after this guy. And there's just no point in having... There's no point in having like 20,000 HP if the flow of the matchup only lets you top off at like 10k HP. Right? Like, it's a really difficult thing to describe, but this is basically what happens in PvP. So, so, like I said, you can sacrifice MP5 for HP, but you can't sacrifice plus healing for HP gain. Because the two of those end up synergizing extremely well together. And in fact, you might get better blah, 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 blah. You get the point. So there's a sweet spot around there somewhere. So anyways, I'm going to end this video here. Other important things to note. 2 Argent Defender Paladins in Arena are probably going to be really, really fucking good. Like, even better than Holy Shock Paladins in a lot of cases. They're going to find themselves in weird situations, however, where there's going to be certain comps that I think they just can't kill very well at all. Especially at high levels of play. So, for example, Druid Warlock, they might struggle to actually find a way to kill Druid Warlock. But at the same time, Druid Warlock can't possibly kill them. They might also have trouble dealing with double Pyromage, but I think that's a private server only thing. But the 2 Argent Defender Paladins are going to be far better suited for actually beating double Pyromage. Or Palm Pyro to be specific, double Palm Pyromage than most other classes. But they just find themselves in this weird situation where they're like, and it's probably good in Arena, where it's like, the vast majority of comps, double Argent Defender Paladin is going to beat the dick off of. Like, they're just going to straight up win. Like, borderline auto win. Borderline full retard auto win. And then there's going to be matchups where they're going to struggle to kill them, but on the flip side, there's no fucking way they die to that comp over there. So it's like, yeah, they might struggle to kill Druid Warlock, but Druid Warlock ain't going to be fucking killing 2 Argent Defender Paladins in a million years. Like, it ain't fucking happening. They would have to overextend with their mana and their HP offensively like a motherfucker going for the kill, and then be reposted into being killed themselves. Which would be... meanwhile, there's going to be this weird dance with Druid Warlock where they might... go too far trying to kill you, and they run too low on mana, and then you kill them. But I think if the 2 Argent Defender Paladins coordinate well enough, especially with their 35-second stuns, cooldowns on their stuns, and then their PvP trinkets and their bubble to shrug off, like, CCs, and their ability to cleanse themselves and all that stuff, I'm pretty sure that they're going to find a way to actually kill Druid Warlock. There's another thing where it's like, it should also be noted that you want to pick your target responsibly as Argent Defender Paladins. So, when you're not low mana mode as Argent Defender Paladins, okay, we're talking arena here. So, for the first, 2 to 3 minutes of fighting in the arena as 2 Argent Defender Paladins, you want to focus your attacks on the target that cannot get away from you. That literally that you don't have to use Judgment of Justice on primarily. So, for example, Druid Warlock, you're targeting the Warlock. If you're going up against, a Priest Warrior, you might be beating on the Warrior for a while, or you might be beating on the Priest for a while. You want to pick the target that cannot get away from you. And the reason for this is because you're not really trying to kill anybody within, the first 3 minutes of combat. So you're probably just going to be using things like Judgment of Light and Judgment of Wisdom on the target, and the target can't outrun you because you got a movement speed boost on them. They don't really have any CC, and so yeah, we'll just beat on this guy for a while. Like, you need a mindset for the first 3 minutes of combat that all you're trying to do is not die. It's like, I'm not die. They'll run out of mana eventually, or HP or something, and then it's game time for us. Then we go Super Saiyan, and they start sucking a dick. The other thing is, Judgment of Wisdom and then Judgment of Crusader on the target that can't move. Like a Druid Warlock, you're jumping on the Warlock. The Warlock's going to have issues casting Fear because there's 2 of you wailing on him, preferably with, a fast one-handed weapon for, pushback, that kind of stuff. With the pushback issue, it's really hard for the Druid and the Warlock to coordinate Fear plus Cyclone together. Especially when the 2 of you have these 2 6-second stuns that are on 35-second cooldown each, plus bubble, plus PvP trinket. Should also be noted that your bubble's on a very fast cooldown of 4 minutes, and we didn't really talk about the major benefits of Sacred Duty. So there are some kill combos with Sacred Duty because you can bubble and go offensive. So, for example, if you get a Reckoning charge and you see the opportunity to go bubble and just pump a full Wreck Bomb effect, a full Reckoning proc into your enemy offensively, and you know that's going to kill them, they can't CC you to do anything about it, go for it. Anyways, it's not a 4-minute cooldown, kind of a big deal. So anyways, you jump on the target that can't get away from you for the first part of that combat until things are Once you enter low mana mode, however, things become a little more interesting. So the Holy Shock Paladins have enough DPS between the 2 of them that they can stay glued to that target that can't get away from them, to that Warrior or that Rogue or that Warlock or that Shadow Priest or whatever the hell. They can stay glued to them and just keep and just ramp up the DPS like a motherfucker, right? Because between the 2 of them, they're going to do more DPS than eating and drinking can possibly avail the healer. And they're just going to grind them into pulp, if that makes any sense. So and on top of that, they have metric shit tons of burst. So they have enough DPS to be able to lean into the target without having to fuck around with the druid or anything. Or the healer can go and eat and drink all he fucking wants. They're dead, is what I'm trying to describe. Math says they're fucking dead. Because math says that the druid can sustain, without eating and drinking, something like 400 HPS. Okay, just their innate mana pullback, they can sustain about they can negate about 400 DPS. If they're fucking off and eating and drinking for a while, we'll assume that number doubles, even though it probably doesn't technically quote double. It's probably less than that, but it doubles to, like, let's say they can ignore 800 DPS. But the two Holy Shock Paladins are probably maintaining on target, like, over 1,000 DPS. Like, they're like 1,200, 1,400 DPS, give or take, just pumping into that Warlock. And on top of that, they can, at any point in time, they can just nuke the shit out of the target with, like, Judgment, Holy Shock, critical blam into them. So it's the Druid just can't eat and drink, or the healer just can't fuck off and eat and drink. They're fucking dead. And this is what I mean when I say that they have a really easy time of winning if they can actually survive to low mana mode. Because they don't even have to worry about the eating and drinking issue. They can just be like, yeah, we're Judgment of Wisdom, Judgment of the Crusader on the Warlock, and we're just going full fucking bore into this bitch, and he's gonna fucking die. And the Druid can't do anything about it. Eating and drinking be damned. The Argent Defender Paladins may or may not have the DPS to pull this off. It's questionable, because they're more susceptible to being CC'd, right? Because they're a melee-based class. So their theoretical DPS of like 500 to 600 while seal twisting suddenly drops down to like 400 DPS. And so then we have, like, 800 DPS from these two Argent Defender Paladins versus a Druid that can theoretically barely keep the Warlock from dying. I think what eventually will kill the Warlock, and then, of course, they have to stop and heal every now and then. But I think what eventually will kill the Warlock under those conditions is just him having to mana tap to get mana is added DPS, and it'll eventually cause them to die. But we're talking like a 25-minute fight if you decide to just beat the shit out of the Warlock and let the Druid go fuck off and eat and drink. So I think how it works for the Argent Defender Paladins is you start off the fight by beating on whatever you can beat on that's not going to get away from you. Like, Judgment of Light, Judgment of Wisdom, or Judgment of the Crusader, Judgment of Wisdom. And you just beat on whatever you know is not going anywhere, whatever doesn't need Seal of Justice for you to stay on top of them. However, once you enter low mana mode, you switch over to the healer. And it might be a Druid, which means you're going to need, if it's a Priest, you're going to need a rotation on your anti-fear abilities, right? So you're going to need, it's going to be like, oh, he feared both of us, I'm going to trinket this one and cleanse you. Okay, he feared both of us again, you trinket and then you cleanse me. He feared both of us again, okay, I'm bubbling and I'm cleansing the other guy. You get the point. It's just this constant rotation of you being able to deny the fear and stay on top of them. So you don't need Seal of Justice against the Priest, or Judgment of Justice against the Priest to stay on top of them, but you do need the anti-CC rotation. Against a Druid, you're going to have to be judging either Crusader Strike and Justice, or you're going to have to be using Wisdom and Justice, whichever one does more DPS over time, and you just stay on top of them, right? And the reason for this is because you're stopping the Druid, from eating and drinking very easily. Their ability to completely continue to sustain healing will probably drop down to, like, let's say 600 DPS that they can ignore. And then the two of you are doing like 800 DPS, and they can only sustain 600 HPS over time, which means that over the course of, like, 8 fucking minutes, you'll eventually kill this fucking Druid. Things that can possibly help this would be like the old item like Blackhand's Grasp from Classic World of Warcraft, the one that gives you mana per auto attack and burns mana away from the enemy. If the two of you have that, and you're going up against a team that is Druid Warlock, I imagine this would be at like high levels. Like, hey, I know this fucker's a Druid and a Warlock. Both of you put on Black Grasp of the Destroyer, use a fast one-handed spell power based weapon. The Druid is gonna fucking hate life, like absolutely. Like each Black Hand of the Destroyer, I think, is worth something like 100 DPS from a mana war perspective. Because Druids heal about, they can convert 1 mana into about 11 healing. And so if this Black Grasp, I think it burns away like 4 mana, and it gives you 4 mana every auto attack. And if you do the math on that, it's worth a metric shit ton of DPS. But anyways, you can go look it up. The other item to keep note of would be Silent Fang, the one-handed item from Skullomance that has a chance to silence the target for 6 seconds. If you're planning on bursting somebody out of existence as a paladin, like if that's your whole spiel, like, you know, I don't know, fuck what you're saying, Pally time. We're going to be 2 Holy Shock Paladins. We're not going to do the Mana War thing. We're just going to try to nuke motherfuckers out of existence. Go, both of you, go get fucking Silent Fang and go beat on those bitches for a while. 1 Silent Fang proc and they're going to fucking die. It's like, okay, 6 seconds of silence plus like 9 seconds of stun. Explain to me what's dead by now. Explain to me how they're not annihilated by now. God help you if God help them if there's 2 fucking Blood Elf Paladins involved in this shit. God double help them if you're skilled enough to use Seal of Justice twisting for extra 2 seconds or 3 seconds of stun somewhere in there. Yeah, so if you're all in the burst type play with like Holy Shock Paladin, then totally go after Silent Fang. It should also be noted that the Argent Defender Paladin DPS of 500 to 600 on paper DPS, which drops to 400 to 500 DPS if they're having to deal with CC issues, okay? Does not factor in Reckoning whatsoever. So, in theory, if you're fighting like Druid Rogue, and at first you beat on the Rogue, and then you switch over to the Druid, or Druid Warrior, and then they're tickling you in your ass, you don't even need fancy shit anymore, like Black Glass or the Destroyer. Reckoning alone is going to clap your enemy out of existence. It's going to be such a massive DPS increase. And the same kind of goes for the whole Warlock thing, right? So it's like, yeah, we're being very generous on what the eating and the drinking does. Maybe you guys can just keep beating on the Warlock. Eventually, Reckoning charges will win the day, right? You know what I mean? So that DPS level is factored entirely without calculating in Reckoning charges. No Reckoning charges, no wings factored into that DPS sequence. Was there one last thing I wanted to talk about? The tempo. Yeah. Anyways, personally, if you're new to TBC, do not get addicted to Holy Shock Paladin. Don't do it. Go play Argent Defender Paladin. But don't get addicted to Argent Defender Paladin. Go play Holy Shock Paladin. I'm deadly serious. It's like one of these paladins in TBC is going to be a God Paladin, right? One of them is going to find a way to solve their respective issues. If both of them don't find a way to, assuming both of them don't find a way to solve their issues, one of them is. And then that's going to be the objectively superior paladin. So, for example, you might struggle as 2 Argent Defender Paladins in Arena, but just realize that coordinating better between the 2 of you and then what trinkets you're using and so forth and so on and what tactics you're using and what items you're using solves almost all of those problems. Whereas on the Holy Shock side of things, it might be a gearing issue to solve the problem, or it might be that Silent Fang and then bursting enemies out of existence is the way to go, right? So something here is gonna click and push these paladins over the edge into God tier paladin zone, and I highly suggest that you all go and explore which one that is. Lord knows I'm not going to be there to explore it, so have fun with that. The last thing to talk about is 5s. 3 Argent Defender Paladins in 3s is actually fucking terrifying. I don't think I'm not so sure about 3 Holy Shock Paladins in 3s, but I know 3 Argent Defender Paladins in 3s is terrifying. And the reason for this is because 2 Argent Defender Paladins can easily murder, death, kill. They can 2v3 more than likely if the enemy is and it depends on like what comp they brought in 3s. Like, did they bring a Druid healer in 3s, or did they bring the meta healer in 3s, which I do believe is the Priest? If they brought the Priest, well, Priests are way fucking easier to kill than Druids. especially as 2 Argent Defender Paladins. So it's like, imagine in threes, the enemy went completely but they managed to pop one of the Argent Defender Paladins. Yay. But they're out of mana. It doesn't matter. Reckoning alone, under those combat circumstances, is going to cause the enemy healer to die a horrible, horrible death. And then 2 Argent Defender Paladins can probably easily take on... so I don't know. It might be a little... I might be talking out my ass in threes. But I know for a fact I'm not talking out my ass in fives. If you can take 5 Argent Defender Paladins into fives, holy shit. Nothing is standing in your way whatsoever. And the reason for this is because as 5 Argent Defender Paladins, all with 5 out of 5 in Reckoning, you're telling the enemy team that they can do no AoE whatsoever. It's like, hey, if you do any AoE, we automatically win. And then all you have to do in fives is basically like gang up on one healer and just dare the enemy to fucking give you Reckoning charges. And even if they can, it gets worse too, because your bubbles don't slow down your melee attack speed. So in theory, it's like you can just gang up on one target, and it's like, oh, I'm forced to bubble. Oh, I'm forced to bubble too. Oh, I'm having to be forced to bubble. And it's like, okay, fine, whatever. I'll just heal myself. Okay, heal into full, blah, 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 blah. I guarantee you that the healers are going to die so fucking fast. It's going to be shocking how quickly the healers die. And on top of that, you have so many fucking stuns and so much cleansing. Holy fuck. It's like, okay, let's say I don't know what the meta healers are in fives. Like maybe they brought like 2 priests with them, or like 2 druids with them. I'm just envisioning these 5 Argent Defender Paladins jumping on like 1 or 2, or even dumber. They could be like, all right, you 3 Argent Defender Paladins go after that healer, and you 2 Argent Defender Paladins go after that healer over there, and bubble if you need to. It doesn't really hurt our DPS anytime soon, and we'll just, CC both of them for like 9 seconds and start cutting them to pieces. Or if you're a complete fucking asshole, you're like stunning this healer over here for 9 seconds, and then all 5 of you are focusing on this other healer. You're not even healing yourselves. You're just bubbling if you have to, which does not reduce your DPS. You're daring them to give you Reckoning charges. God help them if they do give you Reckoning charges. Newsflash, they are going to totally give you fucking Reckoning charges. And you're just going to cut one of their healers down into fucking like mincemeat. It might cost you 1 death on your side. It's like, oh, 1 Argent Defender Paladin died for their healer. Okay, whatever. We'll jump on the other healer. Then the other healer dies. It might cost you another Argent Defender Paladin. Now it's 3 fucking Argent Defender Paladins versus 3 other assholes with low CC. Like their CCs are on cooldown, or their abilities are on cooldown. If not, they're running low on mana, and they have no healers. Who wins that? Hell, if you sacrifice 3 Argent Defender Paladins for their 2 healers, and it's 2 Argent Defender Paladins versus 3 DPS with no healer and no healer and like low resources, you still fucking win. So I'm just like, I don't know. I haven't tested it. Could be talking out my ass, but I'm like, damn, 5 Argent Defender Paladins and fucking fives, man. I don't know. I don't know how you deal with that shit. So enjoy. Maybe the meta would be like 1 enhancement shaman and then 4 Argent Defender Paladins. But then the enhancement shaman becomes the weak link, and they just gang up on him and kill him pretty fucking easily, right? So whereas there is no weak link with 5 Argent Defender Paladins, like there is no weak link there. Maybe you could do 3 Argent Defender Paladins and 2 Holy Shock Paladins just to make sure you guys have like metric shit tons of ass fucking burst. Like maybe that would be a good comp. I don't know. I don't know what survives that. So feel free to test it. I'm gonna end this video here and upload it. Day is full, boys.